Okay, so here I'm going to show you a quick overview of how to wire a socket from start to finish, and in the next couple of sections I'll show a close-up video of some specific techniques, so the actual wiring of the socket, as well as more detail on the Underwriter's Knot and how to strip lamp wire. Here we have the basic insides of a lamp with the interior pipe, lamp hub base or saddle, and the socket assembly. It's important to thread the lamp wire through the lamp base itself before wiring the socket. Otherwise, you'll just end up with a socket hanging from a piece of cord with no way to put it back inside the lamp. So make sure that you thread the wire through your lamp base first. And in this case, just to demonstrate, I only thread it through the piece of pipe. Then add the harp saddle base if you're going to be using a lamp harp to attach a lampshade on the finished lamp. A lamp socket like this one, which is the most common type that you'll find in most commercially available lamp wiring kits, actually has three parts. There is the base of the lamp socket, which is just a little metal dome with a hole for it to attach to the nipple, and then it will have a cardboard liner. The very inside part of the socket will be the part that has the actual switch and the screw terminals, and then there is a final piece which is the exterior metal shell. So now I just thread on the base part of the socket, and if you're using a lamp wiring kit like this one, your lamp cord is probably fused together. So you can pull apart about 6 inches of cord because we're going to create a little knot. I'll show you in more detail later on how to do this, but the point of creating an Underwriter's Knot is to prevent the socket from coming apart if someone yanks on the lamp cord later on. So it helps to keep everything together and makes it safer. The wires in this kit come pre-stripped. We just create little hooks on the copper wires. And here is the main part of the lamp socket. Lamp sockets can come in slightly different variations. Some of them are just on switches, some have three-way dimmers, some are porcelain, some are made of plastic, but they all have one thing in common, and that is that they have hot and neutral screws either at the bottom of the socket or at the side. And the screw terminals are just regular looking gold and silver screws. So first you're going to want to loosen the screws with a screwdriver, and then take your stripped hooked lamp wires and hook them under the screws. And this is where you'll need to identify your lamp wires, hot and neutral lamp wires, and the hot wire needs to be attached to the gold screw and the neutral wire needs to be attached to the silver screw. So to help identify which is which, refer back to the book, which has a diagram and a table showing which is which. Now you can pull the lamp cord gently and tighten up that Underwriter's Knot, and you'll see that the knot will fit snugly in the socket base. A socket like this has a cardboard liner, so I'll put that back on the main part of my socket, and finally the metal socket exterior. The Underwriter's Knot is a simple knot that you tie in the two pieces of cord which prevent it slipping through the socket and through the lamp pipe. Form a loop with one of the pieces of cord. Take the tail of that piece of cord, take it behind the others. Form a loop with the other piece of cord and take that tail, put it through the first loop that you made. Take the first tail of the loop that you made and pull it through the other loop. This creates a little double-sided knot that tightens when you pull on the cord. So for this socket that I'm going to be wiring, my wire is not yet stripped, so I'm going to strip it to 1/4 to 1/2 inch to expose the inner copper wires. What I then do is twist the wires in a clockwise direction, and you'll see why in a minute. Then I form the twisted wires into little hooks. I do the same for the black hot wire. And here is my lamp socket. This one's slightly different to the first one that you saw. This one is a porcelain socket with the electrical terminals at the bottom of the socket instead of at the sides. So we loosen the socket terminal screws with a screwdriver, and then I take the stripped, twisted and hooked lamp wires and hook them under the screws. And again, I make sure that the hot wire attaches to the gold screw and the neutral wire attaches under the silver screw. So when I stripped and twisted the copper wires, that was to make sure that when I start tightening the screws in a clockwise direction, that all of the copper wires are going to stay together under the screw head instead of splaying out. So you want to do your best to keep as much of the copper wires under the screw as possible to ensure that the assembly is safe. I'm just going to quickly show you how to strip lamp wire. It's really simple. Here we have a white or neutral cord which has been stripped already, and you can see that the copper wires inside the cord are exposed. So you have the insulated outside and the copper wires on the inside. We need these little copper wires to attach to the socket screw terminals which conduct the hot and neutral currents. But we only want to expose about 1/4 inch of the copper wires so that they're only in contact with the screw terminals, and we keep the rest of the wires covered with the plastic insulation. Wire strippers can be easily picked up from your local hardware store, and there are different kinds, but they all primarily work the same way. There's basically a series of serrations on the strippers which correspond with different wire gauges. So simply choose the right sized hole for your wire and clamp down, and the strippers should cut through only the insulation on the outside and not the wires within. Sometimes the cut insulation comes off easily, and sometimes you need to tug it a little. My strippers have a kind of vise on the end which lets me do this easily.